Hi there, good evening. Thanks for joining me in this fresh edition of the program, The Insight, on Equinox Television, where we are broadcasting from Douala, Cameroon. Equinox Central News Desk. The Insight today, we shall be looking at the FECAFOOT Normalization Committee. We shall equally be looking at Back to School 2017-2018 academic year. We'll make a focus in Buin Division, Northwest Region. Of course, you know what happened there last Monday on the 4th of September. We shall equally be looking at the two English-speaking regions of the country and why the ghost towns have continued to gain central stage in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. When we take you to out of the country, we shall be looking at the recent unrest in Togo and the Supreme Court of Kenya that the election that saw Uhuru Kenyatta re-elected as president of that country. This and more with a veteran journalist. He is my guest tonight. Meet me and my guest after. You're welcome to join me in this edition of The Insight on Equinox Television. My guest tonight is Ellis Smith. He is a veteran journalist. Ellis Smith, good evening.
Good evening, Hanson.
It's a pleasure having you tonight.
As always.
We know that when we have you, we have so many topics to discuss on. Today we shall begin with FECAFOOT Normalization Committee. Can we say today that at last we can have a good federation, football federation, that will take care of football issues in the country?
Well, I think if you have people like Mr. Happy, who is somebody who is well vested as far as football is concerned, and then people like Njomo Kevin, who is a veteran sport journalist, and others there like the magistrate or barristers that are there, and it is just a small team. If I understand it, they are just made up of 5 people. I think we have to be positive.
About the 5 persons?
Yes, about it.
Many see the coming of Barrister Diodone Happy, seeing the hand of Samuel Etofis there. Remember, he once defended him.
Yeah, but the thing is that Cameroonians most often than not don't know how to appreciate people. Samuel Etofis is an icon. He's somebody respected globally as far as football is concerned. And in Cameroon, since we like to run down people or throw people under the bus, he was a good player, and people criticize him, and they claim that if the team wasn't functioning, it was because of him. And when he left, today we are in the bottom, in the pit. So I think that if Mr. Happy, Diodone, I'm sorry, I want to call him Diodone, ever happened to defend, or vice versa, someone defended him, or the other, or all the other way around, it's a good thing. I think in this country we need to be objective. If someone knows his job, or if someone is doing something which is good, we need to appreciate. I think Mr. Diodone Happy, I'm sorry, Mr. Diodone Happy is a person who knows football, and he deserves to be where he is.
Two legal minds. The last one we saw professors. Professor Joseph Owona, who wrote the 1996 Constitution, Professor Adolf Minkwashe. Now, 2 barristers who are there. Is it not the same tale we have here? Are we not going to go back to the same story we have been having at FECAFOOT? Well, if law professors cannot write good laws.
Yes, the problem in Cameroon is that I'm not trying to denigrate those who have these high-sounding degrees, professors and doctors, whatever. We have seen what those so-called professors have done. They are corrupt, unpatriotic. I don't know anyway the terminological interpretation or definition to give to them. So I don't care whether you are a doctor or you are what. If you are competent, that's what is very important. We have had all those professors. Where have they led us to? But into catastrophe. And now, if we have somebody who can help, I understand you are trying to say there are other 2 barristers in there. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if those high-sounding names you gave failed woefully, these ones are going to fail. I think sometimes people need to be positive, and I think that let's give them a chance and see what they are going to do.
Immediately, you know, in Cameroon today, when an appointment comes up with what has been happening in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country, people are always alert. Now they look at the list, 5 men. There's a name of a veteran sport journalist, Kevin Camden, and many went on social media to start talking of he's not an Anglophone. Should this be the debate today?
First of all, I want to make it abundantly clear that Mr. Njomo Kevin Camden is an Anglophone, a nativist for that matter. He was born in Kumba, he grew up in Kumba, that's where his life is. When I mean nativist, now let me make it abundantly clear. Anglophone Cameroon, unlike Francophone Cameroon, is a part of the country that accommodates people, have a law of welcoming people that is not hostile, that is not tribal. I understand the reticence of some Anglophones. They are talking about Charles Omabeto or Mr. Tom Dio, but you have to understand for the case as far as Tom Dio was concerned, he was appointed and then the government compelled him to go to the Opankam division and claim to be a native of that part of the country. But Njomo Kevin is an Anglophone. And when I mean native is right, there are some Anglophones who are from the northwest and southwest regions, but born in East Cameroon. And now if you want to judge on nativist something, a person born in a locality is a bona fide citizen of that part of the country. So that debate is worthless and it is not necessary. Njomo Kevin, as far as I'm concerned, I know him very well. He speaks very good English. He knows Anglophone Cameroon better than most people who are running their mouth right now. He is an Anglophone, and that case doesn't deserve to be talked about. Let me give you an example, right? I have 3 kids. One is from a Congolese woman, and the 2 are from a Peruvian lady from Latin America, right? 20 years from now, will they say they're Cameroonian? No. One will like salsa music and will love Latin America because the mother comes from Peru and they are growing with their mother. And the other one will like Ndombolo because he grows he's growing from Brazzaville. So we should grow enough, we should be matured, and Africans and Cameroonians should learn, because I find these things sometimes aching that some intellectuals who have been to the United States, who have been to France, and see how the French, the American welcome others, and when they come here, they are tribal and myopic in the way they are thinking. I think there is an Anglophone there, and that Anglophone is called Njomo Kevin, and I'm very proud that he is there and is representing the Anglophones, period. Okay.
Now, what change should they bring? When you look at Fecafoot today, you as an observer, what change should they bring at Fecafoot?
Well, I am an observer. I must be sincere with you that sometimes I get pissed off with football, right? The only thing I think they can bring is sanity, restore the hope and the credibility of Fecafoot. We have always known that it is a place where it churns out scandals. We want it to stop bringing us scandals every day, to make the football of this country to become what it used to become. You know, today our football is a disgrace. We don't play well because the incompetence, the infighting with each Fecafoot has an overbearing on the performances of our boys on the football playing pitches, and that's the reason why we are not playing any football right now. We are a mess. We are at the bottom of everything. So I think that the only thing they have to do is to bring in order into the whole Cameroonian Football Federation, and that competent people should be elected, because I understand they are just managing, right? And then they organize an election that people who really know football should be elected, and that the government should keep away from it, and the government should allow it to be managed professionally.
We are coming at a second normalization committee in just 2 years because of what you just said, the government not keeping away from activities of football. We saw how the Minister for Sport and Physical Education, Bidung Park, swept with the left hand the decision of the Chamber of Conciliation and Arbitration at the National Olympic and Sport Committee.
Yes, that is a mistake of this government. You know, I will not say something extraordinary. Any honest and patriotic Cameroonian know that this is one of the most incompetent regimes that we have within the sub-region, and that they, almost like any dictatorial regimes, wants to control sport because they know sports, like football in most of our third world countries, is the opium of the people. So they want to manipulate it. They want to put people at the helms of it, people whom they think will be loyal to them. That's the reason why they are interfering, and that's the reason why FIFA almost always comes back to say, stop. We want people who are really footballers to give glory to football.
Are you trying to say that the regime is using football for its political gains?
Of course.
When we know that politics and football are not supposed to be bedmates.
Yes, politics and football in theory are not supposed to be bedmates, but we know all over the world that dictatorial regimes have invested a lot in sports in order to show off their images. We have seen the regime of Sani Abacha in Nigeria. When he was governing, he was brutal and violent, but he invested a lot in sports. And I think it is under his regime that Nigeria really were the pinnacle of football and even other sports. We have seen the dictatorial regimes in Brazil using sport, especially football, and so the dictatorial regime of Paul Biya is no more different. Don't you find it a kind of strange that when they won the Africa Cup of Nations by default, they said it was thanks to Paul Biya and thanks to his regime, whereas
Paul Biya is the #1 sportman.
I've never seen him do any sports, but at his age, I don't expect him to do sports anyway. He is an old man who deserves to be on retirement. But then, with a lot of respect to him, because when you're old, you cannot be that agile as a person who is a young man. But Paul Biya also is the cause of the demise of sport in this country.
How?
As he has destroyed everything in this country. Yes, because he came and was surfing on the foundation laid by his predecessors. So, and after that, we have what we have. The calamitous way of managing sport in this country is at the image of the calamitous way he had been running this country politically and economically. So you don't expect a country that is mismanaged to have a very good sport, except he wants to invest a lot. But since most people working with him are corrupt, perhaps he invests a lot, but they just put it in their own private pockets, and it doesn't trickle down to where it deserves to be.
Are you saying even the hosting of the AFCON that will be coming up in 2019 is being politically handled?
Sure. As far as I'm concerned, it is a massive distraction that doesn't deserve to be focused on. We have a lot of problems in this country. Why waste lump sums in organizing a sport that will not have any dividend in it? But I also understand that perhaps some people have made me to understand that since he has not been doing anything at all since he came to power, perhaps it is going to help some localities to have good roads, have some hospitals. Well then, if that is the case, but I think that he is doing that for political purposes. He is doing that for his own glorification, or I can say for his own aggrandizement. It is not because he loves the Cameroonian people. He doesn't love the Cameroonian people. If he loved the Cameroonian people, there are a number of things that he would have been able to do, like for example the crisis that we are having in West Cameroon. He would have been neck deep in it trying to seek for solutions. The problems, like the multiple problems like in localities in East Cameroon, like in Yabasi, where you have no electricity for about 6 months, and there are a number of problems in this country that he would have been able to solve, but he has been unable. He is incompetent, just my definition of how he has been doing things.
But now, when you look at the 2018 presidential elections and the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations, a recent outing by the President of the Republic, he talked of the 2019 AFCON that he is going to personally supervise the projects. Does it speak volumes? That in 2018 is already sure of a victory?
It speaks volumes. As we say, there is a very good adage in English that says, if wishes were horses, the poor will ride. He thinks very well that he is going to be around. He is not ready to leave. That's the reason why he says he's going to be around. But before him, Mubarak has said that in Egypt. Gaddafi, who claimed to be the king of Africa, ended up like a mouse in a hole. Blaise Compaoré, who was touted as one of the most excellent mediators in West Africa, he also said that he was going to continue till eternity, and we know what happened. His wish is to stay as president forever. But is that what the Cameroonians are really thinking, or is that the wish of the Cameroonian people? I think, in my humble opinion, I doubt it very much.
Now, Ellis Smith, when you look at Fecafoot, let's come back to Fecafoot, that's what we're talking about. When you look at Fecafoot today, the ousting of Tombi Aroko Sediki, are you sure that can we put it a cabal? This group of people, are you sure they are going to really leave Fecafoot? Because many have the impression that since they going away of Iya Mohammed, that chain is still there. Can that chain be broken today, and new persons come up when in 6 months, in the month of February, when elections are expected to be held?
I think Mr. Tombi Aroko is an honest, patriotic Cameroonian. I don't think he's a type of person, because I know him personally, I don't think he is a type of person who will be pulling the strings from behind. I also understand that people think that there is this huge shadow of Iya Mohammed lingering over the place and trying to influence or derail everything. If this current normalization committee respects the criteria of FIFA, which I believe it respects, I don't see why we should be pessimistic. I think for once, let's try to give them a chance and see what is going to happen. I know football is something that most Cameroonians hold at heart. As far as I'm concerned, I'm one, but I don't hold football at heart. I think there are many other things in this country to do. It's a big lump of distraction, derailing us from what we really want to do. So I think that, well, Iya Mohammed is no longer there. Let's give this new team an opportunity. Let's not also think that the preceding team, led by Tombi Aroko, will be fighting tooth and nail to derail what is going on. I think Tombi Aroko said, as a Cameroonian, he bows and respects the decision that has been taken.
He had no choice.
He had no choice, but he's extraordinary, because were he another Cameroonian, he would have started running left and right, trying to erect hurdles in order to avoid the normalization committee or commission to be established. He did in a very gentlemanly way that, well, perhaps I don't like what has taken place, but I have to bow out as a human being and as a Cameroonian for the common good of the Cameroonian people and for football.
All right. Ellis Smith, we have much to discuss concerning back to school 2017-2018 academic year in the two English-speaking regions of the country. But something particular happened on that day in Kifeng, a locality in Kumbo, in Bui Division, in the northwest region of Cameroon. We have this 7-minute in-depth report on what happened, the key actors, when a 16-year-old boy, Civism Cyprian, was shot, and that brought tension. 2 persons were later shot in the night. Watch this.
It is in this farm in Kifeng, 15 kilometers from Kumbu in Bui Division, in the northwest region, where a stray bullet killed 16-year-old Cyprian Civism, a child of Shufa Yuar, during an anti-drug raid carried out by elements of the Kumbu Gendarmerie Brigade. The uncle of the now deceased Civism narrates that his nephew was killed by a stray bullet.
The places, they don't fall now for years. Where they come on for days before they shoot the boy for you.
They started shooting there, and this is the exact place where he was shot. It was around here. We got up around 5 a.m. that fateful day. We saw gendarmes and saw how they had arrested our landlord, Shufai. He was tied and kept in the car.
Put on for Mutu. Take some other friends for that side for Lokito. Then they enter people in their house.
They also took a lady and other men, about 2 of them. They entered into houses and collected money. They collected 200,000 francs from a man's home who was planning to build his house during the dry season. And contrary to the release of Minister of Defense that the soldiers acted in self-defense, the man says the gendarmes had entered into houses and started looting.
Then people they come and say, now wait is so. We are not the Mekan so. They all start now the hymn take us.
That is where they took away 2 she-goats, and a motorbike. When people got up to ask why they were looting, they started shooting tear gas and live bullets. Everyone ran for his dear life.
Shoot them. How they don't make them for this, so they shoot one per for day. Number 2, they shoot them, say 2. They shoot that part where they don't take.
Civism was running towards the house which was shot. He too was shot by a stray bullet. Villagers took the body and were moving to Kumbu. Gendarmes used tear gas on them, seized the body and left. Till today, we don't know the whereabouts of the body of Civism Cyprian.
Then the majority stand for the. We did this, so person never make no bad thing.
He also denies allegations that they attacked the gendarmes. He says as gendarmes threw tear gas, they could not even stand the order of the tear gas.
No lie. Person no day for you say go be who work and stick for hand. Person no be who work and stick for hand. No lie. Even work and stick person no day will be who.
Explain again.
All of them were running as gendarmes came, and they even came to arrest some persons whom they say were trafficking drug, marijuana. They had taken 6 persons. They caught the 6 persons, and usually when you are caught, you are asked to pay some amount of money. He narrates how he too had been arrested for allegedly trading with marijuana, but that his own case was different. He had no 500,000 francs to pay, and they were taken to court. Meantime, others who had money to bribe were given to the gendarmes and later freed.
They don't take their money, 500,000, leave them, they come back. Okay, they take we, go to State Council. We go to we on say, no, nobody work that thing. I don't come carry we for nothing.
At the residence of Civism Cyprian, it is an emotional atmosphere. Family members, neighbors and well-wishers are there to console the mother, who is practically inconsolable. In tears, she can't understand how her son will go to the land of no return in such a circumstance. The government has been negotiating with the family, who are still not aware of the whereabouts of their child. Where is the corpse of Civism Cyprian? No one can answer the question.
Point for the child. Let her hold himself and just point at the child.
When youth carried the corpse on their shoulders for a showdown in Kumbu, they were dispersed by gendarmes with tear gas on the way, and the body retrieved. In anger, they marched to the Shishong hospital to inquire whether the corpse was there. The answer was negative. Passing by the government bilingual high school Kimbu, they saw some students in class. It was set ablaze. Negotiation with the government has finally yielded fruits. The family of Civism Cyprian says they had programmed this Saturday, September 9, as a burial day, but the administration of Bui begged them to push it forward to Wednesday next week.
Yesterday, the dear called me. I went there. He then asked me if we are now ready for the burial. I said I could have not been preparing any burial since the corpse we are still at their own level. He then said I should go and prepare for the day can come back and tell him today, which we came start in the family, looked into the issue. We did not see why we should be keeping this corpse to be lying beside us. So we were expecting on our own part to bury the corpse soon. And when I went to the SDO and told him the day that we were expecting to bury, he told me that it is too close. I should give him time since we are already towards a weekend. We should go to the next week, where we sat there, and I solicited now for Wednesday. So it is now certain that the corpse will be buried on Wednesday.
Wednesday next week, therefore, will be the day in which 16-year-old Civism Cyprian will be laid to rest.
Welcome back to join me, Elise Smith, who is my guest tonight. Elise Smith, you've just watched that report. It happened on the 4th of September in Bui Division in the northwest region of Cameroon, the day we had back to school for the 2017-2018 academic year. When you watched that report and when you read the release of the Minister for Defense, what came to your mind?
I will start first with the positive aspect of things, right? This is the first time perhaps that happened, but this is the first time I know that, for example, when something happens in West Cameroon, the perpetrator is in code punished because the commandant of the Gendarmerie Brigade of that part of that region was suspended,
of the
division, which is a very good thing, because we need to, when somebody does something which is good, you need to appreciate it. There, the president or the minister of defense, the president of the republic, he is in fact the rightful minister of defense, did a very good job by suspending that person. The other thing is that I think there was a use of excessive force, and I'm very happy that you have brought on the truth, because I understood from the communique of the Ministry of Defense was as though these people were going there, there was a kind of fighting between drug merchants, and then this guy wanted to intervene, whereas it was a big lie. It is true somebody is growing marijuana, right? You just go and seize that marijuana, but what happened was along the line, they started extorting people, because I don't know, I didn't hear the story
one man there said they took 200,000 francs CFA from a man's home. They took 2 she-goats and a motorbike.
Yeah. And in a total, they took 700,000 CFA francs beside the livestock, which means that those, as I've always been saying, those are not forces of security, but they are forces of insecurity. And then the other thing is, and that now jars with what I've always thought, I think what is going on in West Cameroon is something that the government likes it to continue. Because can you imagine, people want schools to resume, and at the same time you want classes to resume, you go around trigger happy killing people. So who between the people of West Cameroon and the government wants schools to resume? So I think that action was very bad. And if you see, people are talking about the marijuana growing in that part. But here in Douala, where I live, if you go to Ngansoa, there's a street where they call Nouveau Marché Gazon. Along that street, everybody sells marijuana. Everybody knows that. And then whenever the policemen around there, it is true. You can go and ask it. I'm not inventing anything. I wrote something about it. Go there, you are a journalist. Carry out an investigation. And whenever the policemen and the gendarmes, they are broke, they just go into that neighborhood and arrest people, and if you don't pay 500,000 CFA francs, you are not going to be released. So it's like it's the same tax everywhere? Everywhere, that's what they are doing.
Because we heard from one of the men who spoke in that report that in Bui Division it is 500,000 francs CFA. Exactly, it's 500,000 francs CFA, and here in Douala, ask anybody who lives around Gaunsoa, he will tell you it is 500,000 francs as well. There was one story that happened that there was one man living in a family of the merchants of marijuana, and he decided one day, he was very angry, he went to at the divisional officer and reported his brothers, and they came there for 1 week. They cordoned off the neighborhood, and well,
After making the type of move there, they took their 500,000 francs each, and they went, and then business continued as usual. That's how it happens. I did a story about it because what happens is that at Mgangsua, they don't grow marijuana. The marijuana is grown in the West region. It comes to the region. It comes to that place via merchants of watermelons, pineapples, and within the pineapples and watermelons and plantains, you have beneath it marijuana that they bring it at that point, then ventilate it around the city of Douala. So I think that, will I say the gendarmeries and the police of the 6th Police District of New Bell and the gendarmerie, which is around ABC, are much more caution. They are not trigger happy like the gentleman in Bui. Maybe he felt that, well, he was in Anglophone Cameroon, he can kill an Anglophone and the sky will not fall. But I think for once, the government acted properly by removing him from his responsibility. But my fear is that it should not happen like the former director of Lakentini Hospital, who mishandled the case of Monique Komateke. 1 year later, he was rewarded for incompetence as the provincial boss of the health of the littoral province. So I think that, I don't think it is going to act as a jurisprudence that he was given jurisprudence, debunk whatever, and that the other man in Kumbo, after the flames of anger may have subsided, he might be promoted somewhere. But I think it was not a very good thing in Kumbo, as well as I think it was not a very good thing, and I find it strange that people wanted people to go, the government wanted people to go to school. Then you have a set of people who goes around killing people as they have killed. In fact, there are 2 people who got killed. Cyprian got killed, who was 16 years, and there's another person, Abdulaziz, who also got killed. So 2 people got killed, and others were seriously injured, and which is unfair. That's the reason why I say these things. It's not as if I have a kind of fixation or a kind of hatred, but I'm being empirical. I see what is happening every day. Then I have the wherewithal to say it loud and clear.
So today, can you say that back to school in the 2 English-speaking regions was effective? When you watch images on TV and even news you gathered on the ground?
News I gathered on the ground are contradictory. It is not quite effective. It is simply not effective because the government never wanted it to be effective. Let me give you a point of view. If you want people to go to school, they have not been going to school for 1 full year, in spite of the fact that the state broadcaster, the fake news, were making people to think that people were going to school. People have not been going to school for 1 year, right? If you want them to go to school, there is a kind of psychological preparedness that you have to give to those children, the parents and the children themselves. You just decided overnight, you release those Anglophone leaders that you unjustly decided to throw behind bar and warn them, as you act as though they have a magic wand to make people to start going to school. If the government wanted people to go to school, 1, they would have unconditionally release everybody, not at piecemeal as they are doing. 2, try to remove the forces of insecurity in the region, or at least put them in some cantonments so that they should not be threatening people. Now, do you think that a child in Kumbo will want to go to school when he sees a gendarme? No, he knows that a gendarme will just kill him or rape him. I think what the government would have done is that we all want people to go to school, but they would have taken the measures necessary for people to go to school. 1, remove those forces of insecurity or keep them in their camps. 2, release everybody unconditionally. If you do that, those are the kind of enticement put in place for people to go to school. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it was not effective, and I doubt whether it's going to be effective. If they want it to be effective, they should at least, one thing with this government is that they are too proud, arrogant, and at the end of the day, stupid people. What you have to do is that they have to be humble enough. Tell the students and the parents that go back to school, but remove the security for the force of insecurity there. I think that is going to encourage people to go to school, and understand also that if you have a child who has been at home for 1 year without schooling, you need to learn him, encourage him, try to seduce him to go back to school.
But we must say, Elise Smith, that I made a tour in some schools in the northwest region of Cameroon, the capital Bamenda. Very few security forces could be seen around the school. They were just patrolling. Can we say today that the education of our children is being sacrificed on the altar of the Anglophone crisis?
Yes, unfortunately, it is happening, but we are not the first people who began that. In South Africa, when people were fighting against apartheid, it happened, and we know the consequences that have arisen from that. I also think that there are many options to be put on the table in this struggle for Anglophones to be respected in this union. One of them was what has happened, but may I also tell you that it is not necessarily the leaders who wanted people not to go to school. It is, as a colleague always says to me, it is a popular spiritual movement, because people felt that when the government decided to unjustly arrest people like Ayapo, Agbobala, Fontaine, and Mancho BBC, and you have a long list, so people felt that since this government is so dubious, heartless, the only bargaining chip we have is that since there are people who like aggrandizement, they like to show off, we are not going to go to school. It is going to be a kind of pressure on them. They did it. It has paid off. I think so. But I also think that it's not a matter of victor or vanquish. What is important is the future of our country, which is important. We are not going to put the children's future on a balance. But I also think that if the government, because the thing is that you should not always think that the Anglophones are such a stupid people, they don't want to send their children to school. But ask yourself why you, the government of Cameroon, have been killing them willy-nilly, raping them daily, and arresting their leaders unjustly. So they have nothing to lose. That's the reason why they are doing like that. But they want their children to go to school. I'm telling you, everybody wants their children to go to school. I want the children to go to school. But now when I sit around, you move around, yes, you say you didn't see soldiers. When you just see, you know, in West Cameroon.
I'm talking about soldiers placed on school campuses.
Yeah, but
there were soldiers in town.
Yeah, but at GBS Mutengene, there were soldiers there. They were. I saw them. We have the videos, right? And the other thing is that the fear of a Cameroonian policeman or a gendarme man for a West Cameroonian is the beginning of wisdom, because they are so brutal and rude. You have seen what they have done in Kumbo. If you saw what they did in Bamenda on the 16th of December, it was atrocious. If you saw what they have done in Manfe, it is unspeakable. So that is it. So I think that the government, if they want schools to resume, what they have to do is that those soldiers or gendarmes should go back into their barracks. And, well, people will go to school because the children are afraid. Parents are afraid, because they think there's a climate of insecurity created by the government. And that is the reality. Another point of view, I'm afraid, doesn't reflect the facts on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now, because I want us to be clear on this, so that viewers should best understand. I had a reliable information that the government decided to withdraw some soldiers from schools to see how far it was going to be effective. School yet was not effective. Now, what could be the solution?
I think the solution is simple. The first solution is that after the government, it's not a matter of who won or who lost, right? But I have an air of a kind of mini triumphalism, because some people said it's not going to happen. I think if the government wants everything, the dialogue is that the people who were unjustly arrested and thrown behind bars should come back, and negotiation should start. And that negotiation should be open, because the government themselves orchestrated it. It is no longer going to be a kind of corporatist negotiation. It must be about the future of West Cameroon in this union. Something has to be done. And then the second thing is, contrary to what you are saying that the government decided to pull, the government is reinforcing their presence in West Cameroon. Yes. The other thing is that, well,
even though it is not yet official.
Even though it's not yet official, but they are doing a kind of reinforcement. But I believe in what Mao Zedong once said, you can talk and you can fight at the same time. I think that the Anglophones themselves also should, at times, we know they are dubious, but that give them an opportunity to show their duplicity. That is, we want the children to go to school, right? But now, on the other hand, you also should remove your force of insecurity. And then the other thing is, the government should have the courage, like they did in Kumbo recently, to punish gendarmes and policemen who err. Like those who raped and mutilated the university students of Boya. Perhaps you have seen them being punished somewhere, but I have not yet been seen them being punished. Not yet punished.
They were being congratulated by the Minister for Communication, saying they were acting in self-defense.
Good. The thing is, I pity the Minister of Communication very much, because I don't know whether he has children. If his daughter was raped, will he have the effrontery to come in front of TV screens and microphones around the world to congratulate people who rape, who molest other people's children? No. I think let's ignore him. He does that because he's paid for that, but he does that in a very stupid way. What I think is that we are in an atmosphere of conciliation. I think the government just needs to be humble enough, and now we have the leaders, some of them are out, try to talk to them, and only they can decide the future of the academy here in that part of the country. And no amount of lies, because the state media and their appendages say things a lot, will change the course. The thing is, the future of the West Cameroon and the future of Cameroon is at stake. That is what is played right now.
Okay. So to you, that is a solution. So someone somewhere told me the only solution is President Paul Biya to come down and make the ultimate decision.
Yes, that is another thing, and he has started doing it, because I don't want to think, because people think that he was ill-informed, but I think he wanted to play with fire, and the fire is burning him. That's what he has decided to decide, that all those leaders should be released. On the other hand, if Paul Biya were Amadou Ahidjo, right? Because that's now you have, I'm sorry to say about it, is anthropological way of governing. The style of a Sahelian man and a man from the forest. If Paul Biya were Ahidjo, if it were Ahidjo, I think Ahidjo would have gone either to Kumbo, Mbengui, Victoria, or Akwaya to talk to the people of Manfe. If I were Biya, what I would do is that I will take the command of this thing myself, and I will try to go to the southwest, maybe in Manfe, not necessarily in Boya. I can go to Manfe, I can go to Kumbo, and tell the people of that region that we are all Cameroonians. Yes, we have made mistakes, because to err is humane. Now let's talk about the future of our country.
All right.
That's why I think if he does that, it is going to work out miracles. But can he do it? Does he have the energy to do it? Will his entourage want to do it? Because I think on the other hand is that there are many people benefiting from this. It's just like the crisis in the far north. And don't you see that most officers in the army are building a lot of mansions? You know, another man's meat is another man's poison. So some people want the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions to perpetuate in order to inflate their pockets. So I think it's high time, if Paul Biya doesn't want this country under his watch to end up like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or like Somalia, or like Sudan, or like Ethiopia and Eritrea, he has to stand up and decide to take things in his own hands and go down to the southwest and northwest regions and then talk to real representatives of that region. Those are people like Ayapor. He is outspoken, Ayapor. Speak to him. It's better to speak with someone who tells you the truth than a sycophant.
Not Nijon?
Well, Nijon is a politician, right? And with due respect to whom he is, do you sincerely think that he's controlling what is going on? I doubt. I think that they should speak to, yes, the SDF, they can speak to some MPs of the SDF like Wiriba, They should speak to Aya, they should speak to Aguabala, they should speak to Fontem, they should speak to the real representatives of the Anglophone region who will be able to tell the truth to the Francophone majority government in Yaoundé about the reality of people of West Cameroon, not people who go there and lie just because they want to have contracts, they want to live well at the expense of their people.
All right, Elise Smith, we have just a few minutes left. Let's talk about Togo. Togo, just like Gabon yesterday, is in tension, political tension. The main reason, 50 years of a dynasty,
Exactly.
just like Gabon.
Yeah, just like Gabon. But the one funny thing which is good is that Togo, unlike Gabon, is that it's not during an electoral period. People are just fed up of Nyafimbe Adema. Since he came to power and his son Ford succeeded him, it has been a dynasty that people like Johnson or Fabre wants to put an end to it, and then the people of Togo are coming out en masse in order for the constitution of the country to be respected. They even won the 1992 constitution that 10 years later it was changed, and the term limits were removed like they did in Cameroon. So they wanted, and the government is kind of bending because the government said they are going to come back to the 1992 constitution that puts a presidential term limits. But now the opposition doesn't want it. I think that For Adema should understand that he has nothing to offer, and I'm not the only one saying it. Former President Obasanjo said it on BBC, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, that there's no other thing that Foyafimbe can offer. Now it is a good thing for him now to leave. But the good thing is I have faith in the Togolese people, and I also have faith in the people of West Africa, because ECOWAS is unlike CEMAC or ECAS. They will be able to do something, because if you can recall, in the ECOWAS proper, the only black leg there is called Togo, because Gambia is now a democracy. So why should Togo be an island of dictatorship in a sea of democracy? So I think the time of For Nyasimbe is up, and he should humbly leave or be humiliated.
Are you sure he's going to be humiliated?
Well, the determination of the Togolese people seems to show that they will continue to the end. And I also think that if you have already the even chambers of ECOWAS already intervening, so I think there is a glimmer of hope.
Now, we look at Togo and equally look at Kenya. You saw what the Supreme Court did?
Yes. The Supreme Court in Kenya just showed us one thing. You can be appointed, you can appoint me, but I have my independence and integrity to interpret the law, respecting the law. And that's what the head of the court, the chief judge of Kenya did, which is a very good thing, because it sets a precedent. We have never seen that before in most African countries. Here in Cameroon, there's one gentleman called Alexis Dipanda-Mwele. He had that opportunity to act that way, and then his name should be inscribed in gold forever. But he decided to be a coward, and then we know what happened. So in Kenya, it shows, first of all, that the institutions are solid. When someone is appointed by somebody, but he doesn't feel any kind of allegiance to toe the ways or the dictates of the man who appointed him. So it's something commendable. Now let's see how the rerun of the elections is going to take place.
In October. Now let's end with Congo, Brazzaville. The summit or the meeting on how the problem in Libya will be resolved. One has been will be organized in France. The other is being organized at the moment in Congo, Brazzaville.
Yeah, the one which is being organized in France is genuine with some legitimacy. That which is organized in Brazzaville currently is fake, and you can understand that nobody talks about it, because first of all, President Denis Sassou Nguesso has no moral authority to be intervening in Libya as a mediator. He was a very bad mediator in Central African Republic, another bad mediator in the DRC. What the hell has he got to do in Libya? First of all, he has to negotiate with his opposition party leaders that he has thrown all in jail. You know, in Congo Brazzaville, Officially, at the Brazzaville Central Prison alone, you have 131 political prisoners. Among them is one of our colleagues, Gis Fortuné Mbemba, whose only crime was because he interviewed Pastor Ntumi. So Mr. Sassou Nguesso is just organizing this thing for his own personal aggrandizement. This is a country that has a runaway inflation, officially standing at 120% of the GDP, which it might be already competing with Venezuela. He has ruined that country simply because he wants to stay in power, and he has been there for 32 years and more, and he has destroyed that country, everything. So what he's doing there is just a waste of time. He's doing that for his own personal glorification and not for the people of Libya. The other thing is that you always find Mr. Ngakoso talking. Have you ever found the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Niger speak about it? Why is that Mr. Yusufu is not that involved? So he's just doing that to waste Congolese taxpayers' money, a country that is already in acute economic crisis right now. So it's worthless.
All right. Okay, it was a pleasure being with you in tonight's edition of the program, The Insight.
Thank you very much. Whenever I'm invited, I will report for duty.
All right. It was equally a pleasure being with you in today's edition of the program, The Insight on Equinox Television. If you did enjoy the program, take our rendezvous there for next week Sunday, same time, 6:30 p.m., same channel, Equinox Television, the channel of the people. Good night.